ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to your virus update. Today is Friday the 14th of February 2020. Welcome to the show, guys. I'm glad to have you guys here. Now remember to give me a thumbs up at the end of the video because that's very important for my channel. But here's the thing. The United States, Canada, Great Britain, all three of these countries are doing a wonderful job at trying to keep the coronavirus, which is now called COVID-19, out. And they have been keeping it out to a certain degree. There's a number of cases that did come in back when initially when the virus was, before it wasn't on anybody's radar so much, and people were flying out of Wuhan, China, into the United States, Canada, and the United Kingdom. But there hasn't been an excessive increase in these numbers in a number of days, which is a very good sign indeed. But China is doing their effective best at trying to use draconian measures to try to control the virus within China, and they're now calling it a war zone. Now, why I say this is a good job that they're doing in America and Canada and the United Kingdom is because of the potential of this virus and how contagious this virus is. A report came out from Los Alamos, and in the report, they gave this virus a peculiarly high R0 value, which means it's extremely contagious. And if we look at what happened on the cruise ships, we can see an example of how contagious this virus really is. A second example that we can look at is how many healthcare providers and healthcare workers in China are actually coming down with this virus. You know yourselves when you go into the hospital or something with a flu, and you know how contagious the flu is. Most often, the healthcare providers in the hospital don't catch it. And that's the flu. 1,700 healthcare providers, from what I heard this morning, in China have come down with this virus and now are sick with it, and 6 of them have died. This giving you a second idea of how contagious this virus really is. I believe that the only time you're really 100% safe in an environment with this virus is if you're in a pressurized hazmat suit. If your hazmat suit is not pressurized, then you're not 100% safe from this virus, because this virus is an extreme contagion. So much for just a few weeks ago on the news, they were saying that it could only be passed on from animals to humans and not from humans to humans. So much for that. That's been proven to be not true at all. In fact, this is probably one of our, on the contagion, how contagious the virus is, it's probably one of the most contagious viruses we've faced in a long time. And so that's why I say that they're doing a very good job tracking down people who have come in contact with the virus in the United States, Canada, and the United Kingdom. The fact that our numbers haven't went up. And there's other countries that are doing a good job as well. Not just the United States, United Kingdom. In fact, most countries have been doing actually a good job considering how contagious this virus really is. But we have to remain vigilant, because this virus is like a fire, and we all know how fires burn. You know, there's mine fires that are burning in the United States, been burning for 100 years. They smolder. You know, and then there's also fires sometimes that'll burn in an area where there's a peat bog, and they can smolder for years down in the peat. That's comparing the virus to a fire is a good comparison, and the reason why is the virus burns like fire. It needs fuel to consume in front of it. And this virus, if I was comparing it to a fire, I would compare it to a grass fire. Burns very quickly, burns very hotly, but it can snuff out very easily. So if it can't get more fuel, it'll snuff itself out. It has roughly, I think they said, in the longest incubation periods is like, I think they said 24 days. In the shortest is like 3 days. And then you have it for a week or two, you know? And so you're looking at about a month there. So if it can't find any more hosts within like a month period, then your containment will have worked, and the virus will just basically disappear once it runs out of hosts. So I read an article on there this morning that said, what's a worst case scenario? Now, I don't know who wrote the article or what, and I'm not an expert on viruses or anything like that. But I am able to use my own common sense. And in the article it said that the worst case scenario, that 60% of the people on Earth would catch this virus. Well, that leaves 40% that aren't going to catch it. I want to know where those 40% of the people on Earth live that's not going to catch it in a worst case scenario, because I'm going to go where they are. I know, you know what I mean? Because that doesn't really make sense to me. Why wouldn't, in a worst case scenario, with something that's this contagious, how would 40% of the population escape it? That's what I want to know, you know? Anyway, in a worst case scenario, the way I see it, is this would make its way even into remote villages in the middle of nowhere. If there was any sort of a, say, food delivery or anything like that, and say the guy who's delivering the food had the virus, then that even a small community in the middle of nowhere would end up catching the virus. And then it would be like the people on the cruise ship, you know? I mean, this thing is contagious, extremely contagious. The only way I see, in a worst case scenario, where people wouldn't catch it, is if they were completely isolated from humanity. Then they wouldn't catch it. Anyway, that's just my opinion on it. So I think in the worst case scenario, I think it would be even higher than 60%. It's my opinion. Anyway, moving on. Let's hope it doesn't come to a worst case scenario. But if it did, this virus would burn itself out. And then it would disappear, because it would not have anybody to infect anymore. It's just as simple as that, you know. So let's hope it doesn't come to a worst case scenario. Let's hope they are able to contain it in China, but I think that they've got a tiger by the tail, so to speak, in China, and I think because of that, that's why they're taking draconian measures. They knew weeks ago that they have a big problem, and they started to react to it before the rest of the world really knew what was going on. You know, they knew what was going on. They knew that they had a tiger by the tail. And so this is a fight that's going on in China. It's quite literally a war between China and the virus. And just like any war, you cannot completely 100% predict the outcome. You have to sit back and wait and watch and see who wins. And this is exactly the same thing. So we're waiting on information to come from China. But according to that paper that I saw from Los Alamos, it's going to be a very difficult fight indeed. And the Chinese have got to continue being very vigilant and work very hard to try to stomp this thing out. I'm waiting to see what kind of success they have. Thank you guys for listening to this update, and I'm going to give you your numbers right now. 64,461 people have it in total. 6,380 63,866 have it in mainland China. There's 218 others. The others are mostly aboard the cruise ships. 67 have it in Singapore. 56 have it in Hong Kong. 33 in Thailand. 29 in Japan. 28 in South Korea. 19 in Malaysia. 18 in Taiwan. 16 in Germany. 16 in Vietnam. 15 in Australia. 15 in the United States. 11 in France. 10 in Macau. 9 in the United Kingdom. 8 in the United Arab Emirates, 7 in Canada, 3 in Italy, 3 in the Philippines, 3 in India, 2 in Russia, 2 in Spain, 1 in Nepal, 1 in Cambodia, 1 in Belgium, 1 in Finland, 1 in Sweden, 1 in Egypt, and 1 in Sri Lanka. 7,171 people have recovered. Total deaths are 1,384 is the total deaths. And this information comes from Johns Hopkins. From their information from yesterday. Their new information is going to come out in about 3 hours from now. And I imagine that the numbers are going to go up again today. When we really do see this virus come to a peak is when we see the numbers not going up anymore. That's the day we're waiting for. Thank you guys for listening. Like and subscribe. Give me a thumbs up. We'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.